and welcome to my creative space. Thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to another DIY video. If you're not already, I hope you will consider to join my creative squad and subscribe to my channel. In today's video, I have 3 neutral Valentine's Day DIYs. I am so excited to share how I created them, so let's get started. For this DIY, I traced a heart on paper and then I marked it on a piece of cardboard, and now I'm gonna cut that out. I just needed something a little stronger than the paper. Now I'm gonna grab this felt roll. It's in color white that I grabbed from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to start drawing my hearts with the piece of cardboard. And I'm gonna take a pencil for doing this because I don't want any harsh lines when I go to cut it and it shows through the felt. I end up tracing 18 hearts because I will be creating 9 hearts out of this, and now I'm gonna just cut them out with some scissors. Now that I have those hearts ready to go, I am going to be creating some tassels out of twine rope. The way that I create my tassels, I just wrap it around my hand. Now that I think it's enough, I will tie a little knot on there with an extra piece of rope, and I will create a couple of knots on there, making sure everything is very tight. Now I will wrap it around a few times, and as you can see, that little piece of rope was sticking out, so I decided to trim it, and I'm just gonna wrap it until I think it's enough. Once I think it's enough, instead of making another knot, I will be gluing that down and then cutting that off with some scissors, and there you have it. Now I'm trimming another piece of this twine rope, and I will run it through the top, and I will make a few knots on there to make sure it's secure. Now that I have that ready to go, I am going to grab the bottom and I'm gonna cut that off and make it even at the bottom. Now that that is ready, I will grab my first heart, add some hot glue on there, and glue my first tassel on there. Now that that is done, it's time to glue my 2 hearts together, and I will add some hot glue, as you can see, at the top, making sure that I leave some space open at the bottom because that is where all the polyfill is going to be put in there. But as you can see, now I'm putting my 2 hearts together and just grabbing them and making sure everything is very well glued in there. Now here is my fill. I will grab some of that and basically just stuff my heart until I think it's enough. Once I have that ready to go, I will be grabbing my glue gun again, and I will be sealing the bottom, and I will do one side at a time to make sure that they are even. And here is my first heart. I will do the other ones off camera. I finished all my 9 hearts, and now it's time to move on to the next step, which is I will be using these wooden beads that I got from the Dollar Tree. And here's what I'm gonna do. I will run them through my little piece of twine rope, and then I will take them outside, spray paint them white, but as you can see, I ran out of white paint, so I had to take them off and just pick the ones that actually got the paint on. And once I have all my little beads there, I grab this wire ute rope from the Dollar Tree as well, and I will be using this instead of twine rope. I just thought it was a better idea and more manageable, and I just run all the beads that I needed to run. I end up using 30 little beads, and once I ran that all through them, I created 2 more tassels to put on the ends, as you saw. And now I am going to start putting my hearts in here, and I decided to glue mine down, so I am going to be adding some hot glue to the wire ute rope, and I will start adding my hearts on there, leaving some space in between the beads and I guess the hearts, and then I will just keep doing the same thing until I finish. As the last step, I will be adding the last tassel to the end, and I will just be sliding it on there and then wrapping around the wire ute rope on there a few times. And to help avoid the unraveling of the ute rope, I just added some hot glue and glued that down, and our garland is ready to go. And here is a picture of the end result. I am in love of how this garland turned out. Let me know what you think. For this DIY, I will be repurposing this Christmas wreath that I created for one of my Christmas videos, and I will show you a quick video or clip of how I created it. It was very easy, very inexpensive, as it is stuff that you probably have laying around outside naturally. And if you like to watch the whole video, I will link it in the description box. After I remove the greenery and the bow off, I'm going to start shaping it into a heart, and for this I will be using this twine rope just to tie where I need to tie to make it stay in shape. This wreath was outside, and because of the weather it kind of lost its shape, so some of the pieces were coming off, and I'm just going back with some twine rope to tie it back together. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna be doing, just making sure that I add some more twine rope where it needs it, and once that is ready, I will start shaping it into a heart at the bottom. And basically I am going to be using some more twine rope to tie the bottom to make sure it stays into a heart shape. Alright, I'm gonna be using these Dollar Tree flowers, and I will start removing them off the branches because all I need is the flowers. I also had this lace that my mom gifted me a while ago, and I am finally using it. And I'm pretty sure the Dollar Tree carries some lace as well, so you could also use that. Here's what I'm gonna do. I turned it over and I glued the lace to the back. Now I'm gonna turn it back to the front, and I will start wrapping it around until I make it back to the beginning. Once I make it back, I will trim it and glue that down to make sure that it's going to stay on there. Here is what it's looking like so far. I had another package of this wire rope, and not that it was the perfect item to create some words for this wreath. I decided to create the word love with this. I just thought that the word love in cursive will come in perfect, and then I decided to go for a heart for the letter O, and I just think it looks adorable. But that is just me. And moving on, now that I finished my word, I am going to cut off the extra piece of wire, and I am going to start playing around with this to see exactly where I want this to sit. And once I decided where I wanted this to sit, I turned it over and I added some hot glue to glue down my piece of rope. And yeah, just use some hot glue, and I did the exact same thing on the other side, and now it's ready to move on. I think it's looking so good already, but now it's time to move on. Okay, so I decided to create a bow with this burlap ribbon. I don't know if it was the best idea. I don't know if I love this ribbon. Not the ribbon, I'm sorry, the bow that I created. I feel like it was missing something, but I don't know. This is how I end up creating my little bow for my wreath. And once I am done creating it, I will be adding some flowers to it, and I decided to go for the lighter pink flowers. As you can see, I end up using 6 of these flowers, and I started by gluing down my first 2 flowers. They kind of were around the same size and they kind of were around the same shape. and I glued those two down. Once those were glued down, I decided to trim off the little greenery piece that they have holding them at the bottom, just the little spiky ones, and then I added my little bow on there. I think it looks okay, but I still at this point wasn't sure if I liked it or not. Now I decided to add the other flowers, one on each side, and then after that I decided to go for one of the smallest ones. And as you can see, I'm removing the spikes because I don't want them to be in the way when I glue them down. Now that my flowers are glued down, I decided to create a hanger with the leftover lace that I had, and I think it looks adorable. And here is a picture of the end result. For this DIY, I will be taking this round wire wreath that I already had on hand. I know that the Dollar Tree carries the heart ones, but I just couldn't find any when I went to the store, so this is what I am going to be using. Basically, I am going to be removing all the rings off, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a little hard, but after a lot of twisting and moving around, the little rings started coming off. Now that I have all my rings off, as you can see, the little one kind of broke and had that little wire piece sticking out, which it was fine. It will get covered up later and I won't be able to see it. So I grabbed the medium one and I started shaping it into a heart, and I just had to be very careful because where they weld together, I didn't want to break it apart like I did that other one. And I did a great job with that one, but not so much with this one. As you can see, it broke, so I had to go back and hot glue it together. And as you can see, they were not even, so I had to trim it with these pliers to make this heart even again. And once I had it even, I added some hot glue to them, and it's going to be fine. You'll see later. Okay, I am going to be using this doilies, I think they're called, but they're like little mats, and I am going to start trimming this into little strips, and I will be using this for my biggest heart. Basically, I'm using this as a ribbon, and I will be gluing this on there and wrapping it around until I cover the whole heart with this. And yes, I could have gone some lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree, which is really pretty, but I like repurposing things. If I already have this, why go and spend another $1 when I can use what I have and they do the same job? Anyways, moving on to this small heart, I decided to use this beaded garland that I already had and came from the Dollar Tree as well. So I decided to glue this into the shape of the heart first to kind of cover up the wire. And once I have it glued down, I will move on to wrapping it around. I just thought it was the best idea because the wire wreath is green, so I was trying to cover that up. But once I have that heart shape glued down, I will move on to wrapping around the remainder of the garland, and I will do that until I finish my little heart. For my leftover heart, I am going to be using this burlap ribbon, and basically I will be cutting this into strips because I will be creating I think it's called a shag wreath, and I am going to cut this into strips and then remove the wire off of the ribbon. And once I have all my pieces cut down, I have some leftover doilies or whatever they're called, and so I'm gonna cut this into strips again, and I will be using those as well to decorate my shag wreath. Now that that is done, I will move on to tying them on my wreath. And yeah, I'm just going to be creating a single knot on there and start alternating between the burlap ribbon and the other strips. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna do until I finish, and this is how it's looking so far. I will finish the rest of it off camera and I'll be right back. Here is my 3 completed hearts. I think they look adorable, and now it's time to put them together. I will be grabbing these burlap ribbon that I already had, and it's really pretty. I like all these neutral colors. All I'm gonna do is trim this ribbon to the size I need this to be, and then I will add some hot glue on there and glue that together to create a ring. And I will flip over my shag wreath, and I will be gluing this to the back of that. I could have put both of this wreath together, but I thought it was gonna push down the little shagginess of it, the poofiness of it, so that's why I glue it to the back. Now for the bottom one, I will be creating another ribbon ring, and those will be glued together just so I can move them around and adjust them if I wanted to. And yeah, so basically I'm adding some more hot glue, creating a little ring where my 2 hearts are hanging together. This is what it's looking like so far, but I decided to add one last detail, and I wanted to create a couple of bows. They're very simple. I'm grabbing some of the burlap ribbon to create that bow, and my bow technique hasn't changed, so I will let you watch. For this little bow, I am tying it. My best explanation is tying it how you would tie your shoes to create this little bow. And yeah, there you have it. To tie them together, I will be using a smaller piece of the burlap ribbon, and I will be tying them together. I created a second bow using leftover lace that I had from my heart wreath, and basically I just tied again how you would tie your shoes, and I created 2 of them like that and add them together and glue that to the lace that is holding the top and middle heart. All is left to do is to create a hanger for this super adorable heart decoration, and all I did is just grab another piece of some of the leftover ribbon I had and created a little holder, glued that to the back, and there you have it. Here is a picture of how these adorable hearts turned out. I am in love with this DIY, but I can't decide which one is my favorite. So you leave a comment down below letting me know which one was your favorite DIY. And also, don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you on my next DIY. Bye!